On today's show, it's all about travel photography, and we are getting the inside secrets from the pros. Hosting with me, he's smooth talking, always rocking, techno explaining, photography training, host with the most from coast to coast, friends with Terry, the one and only Larry. Please welcome with Larry Becker, everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a wonderfully rhyming approach to an introduction, and much less brutal than some of the introductions I've received from my friend Scott. You didn't have any terrible pictures of me doing ballet or anything like that.
The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a Platypod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Grid. Today you've got me again, Christina, and I've got Larry Becker helping to host today's show. Thank you so much for coming all this way to join us today.
I love being in the Kelby studios. There are always so many cool people here. It's great to work with true professionals on set, and we're talking about photography, travel photography specifically. I love that.
Yeah, me too. I love travel photography. I'm super passionate about traveling in general. So I'm excited for today's show to hear what some of our guests have to share with us and give us their top tips. This is a fun topic. Who does not love travel photography, right? Where do you like to travel, Larry? What are some of your favorite places?
You know what? Being in Florida, I've spent a lot of time, obviously, at the coast here in Florida, but going to the islands has been a lot of fun. I've been all over the United States, though. So out west, California has some amazing places, and we've got a California pro coming on the show today, right?
Yep.
And I have so many great memories there, but he deep dives in places that I have as memories. He's taking the pictures there. So I've got a lot of that stuff. I'm trying to think. There are places on my bucket list. I mean, I think I want to go to Tuscany now.
I know. I was going to say one of my favorite places was actually this place called Cinque Terre.
Okay.
And that's in Italy. And of course, that we're talking about Italy because Scott, that's where Scott is. That's why he's not here today. And which we'll show you guys some pictures of him and Jason and where they're at in a little bit. But I had luckily got to go over to Italy, and there's this little spot called Cinque Terre, and it's 5 villages linked together, and you can actually walk along the Mediterranean coast to coast to they're linked, you know, and so you can like do a hike and go from village to village, but you can't get there unless you take a train.
Okay.
You cannot drive in, and this is where a lot of the Italians visit. So but we'll be asking everyone on today's show where their favorite places are and kind of get some insight from them as well. Maybe we should, I don't know if the control room's ready to show some pictures of Scott and Jason from their trip, but they are, they've been busy since this weekend going all over, and they're in Tuscany, and Jason actually showed me some pictures of him being in Venice, and I was a little jealous. I got them this morning, and it was like pictures of food too, and I was like,
I know. Italian food is something very special to Americans who have never left the country.
Right.
It's so great. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, this is his first time over there, and I know his mom and was super excited for him because he is Italian, and so for him to get to go visit was really special. And then Eric Kuna, he is photographing the rocket launch that just happened, and we got to see some pictures from his Twitter of some of the astronauts that went up. And so everybody's doing some really exciting things right now. There's so much going on. Look, there they are right there.
We went outside and looked at it from the parking lot here, and we could see a little bit of smoke trail, but nothing like what Eric shoots. And it's just, I've been so impressed with the images and the different kinds of images. And I think that's going to come up a bit today. If you're a tourist and you're taking snapshots with your phone, you get one level of photography. But the people that we're talking to today, deep dive, and they have a style, each one, and they're different styles. And the nice thing is when you have somebody that's that professional, that has that experience of not only traveling, but capturing exactly the kind of image that they want to capture. Those are the people that I want to learn from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm super excited. You know, we do have the travel photography conference coming in a few weeks.
I heard about that.
And and so we are starting to gear up for that. And so some of the guests today are from our travel photography conference lineup. And we will have Dave Williams coming on, Deb Sandage, and Jefferson Graham as well today. So I can't wait to ask them some questions that I'm curious to know. And hopefully everyone will also enjoy that. We'll also take your questions today too. So please, you know, if you have any questions for us, definitely drop it in the chat. We'll make sure to ask those instructors anything you might have to ask as well.
Yeah, if I were you right now, you've got us open in one tab. Go to another tab in your browser and look up some of the images from Jefferson Graham and Deb Sandage and Dave Williams. Look up some of their images, and you probably, a lot of you are already familiar with one or more of those instructors. But if you look at their images, then ask them questions about those images. How did they get there? How did they, because those are the kinds of things that I like to know. We have access to so many great professionals here at Kelby One, and I like to ask them the deeper questions about their style.
Right.
And I think that our audience today will get a lot out of it if you go in and familiarize yourself a little bit with the style of each of these artists, and then be ready for their responses to the kinds of photography they do.
Absolutely. And then we also have prizes to give away. So today, make sure, you know, if you want one of these prizes, you just drop a comment in the chat. I've got Ron on the chat today. Thank you, Ron. And Eric's in the control room. I have to give him a shout out too, since Jason's away. We've got Juan over here on the floor doing camera for us. So let's just give a shout out to our crew. But for prizes today, we will have a Platypod twin pack to give away to some lucky winner. We're also going to give away the How Do I Do That in Lightroom? It's been updated, so this is a newer book that Scott has done, and some lucky winner will get that. What else do we have, Larry?
Well, this looks like the travel photography book. Look, zoom in. There it is. The travel photography book from Scott Kelby. And you know, there's a reason that Scott's books are the best-selling photography books. He breaks it down to where it's like one topic per page or one concept per page, and just page after page after page of great stuff. And I remember when Scott was very first doing this style of book, and some of the publishers were like, I'm not sure that's going to be what people really want. And it is. It's exactly what people really want. And so there's a reason that Scott is not telling me to say this, so I'm going to say it anyway.
Well, you know, I just love his writing style too.
True.
And that's funny you say this, because before I even ever worked here or really even knew who Scott was, I happened to get one of his books, and I was like reading it on the beach, and it was like one of his like volume 1 of the camera books, you know. And I'm sitting on the beach reading this thing, and I'm finding myself laughing out loud, and I wasn't expecting that out of a photography book, you know.
Sure.
And I just love his writing style and his comedian approach, and just how simple he breaks things down, and just really, I think his mind frame is just like, what would I say to a friend? And so it comes off in everything he does.
Yep, I enjoy his books as well, and yeah, good stuff.
We're also giving away On One Effects 2022.
Oh, nice.
So I know people love to win that. And then one of my new favorites is the V Flat World. We've got 2 different things that we give away. One is the V Flat. It's a travel portable V Flat that you can collapse, and one side's black, one side's white. You can take it in your car. Super convenient. And they also have another product, which is the Duo boards. And, you know, it comes with 2, but then each side is different. So you actually can get up to 4 looks.
I want that.
It is awesome. And so VFlat World will be sending that out to anyone in the United States. We can send that to. But if you wanted to go ahead and get a discount and get some VFlat World right now, you could go to their website and use the Kelby10 code and get 10% off.
So it's KELBY10.
That's
will get
right.
you 10% off.
Yep. And then finally, we do have a new sponsor this week.
Yeah, who?
And it's going to be Imogen. And they are giving any new people 1,000 AI edits. So they do batch processing, like a AI batch processing.
Yeah, it's really cool that their website has the thing that we all want, which is the before and after with the swipe bar, and you can see what their AI is doing to that image. Very cool stuff.
It is. So make sure you drop in the chat what prize you'd like to win, and then we'll announce them at the end of the show. So maybe right now what we should do is just go ahead and take a break, and then when we come back, we'll have Dave Williams with us. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And get your questions ready.
So why is now the perfect time for a travel photography conference? It's because we're traveling now. We're back out again. You know, we were locked down for so long, but there's this pent-up demand, and now we're all out there shooting like mad. And it's the perfect marriage of it's the right time, it's the right price. You can come back with amazing photos with minimal gear and minimal cost, and just come back and blow everybody away with the images. And they'll be jealous. They'll be very, very jealous, because we all want to travel. Right now, travel is hot. You're going to learn from the very best, most passionate, talented, gifted, great communicators on the planet. So whether it's post-processing or shooting or locations or travel tips, they're driven to share this stuff. It's something inside them that's just like, I got to get this out there. What are the right lenses? What are the right accessories? What kind of tripod should you take? How many tripods should you take? How many bodies? How many cards? We're covering all of that stuff. This is a multi-day conference. We've got 2 different tracks going, 2 days, and a pre-conference day. But you can pick and choose which ones you want to go to, and maybe even best of all, it's archived for a whole year. So when is all of this? It happens October 25th and 26th. And the day before we have actually a pre-conference session you go, it's included in your conference fee. You can see the whole thing and just spend a few days just getting lost in all this. And just focus on being creative, learning new techniques, learning about the gear, learning the post-processing, having fun, and there's such a great community built around all of this online. It's a really amazing thing to see. You'll make new friends. People will help you out. They'll answer your questions. There's so much that happens around this whole thing that makes it such a very special experience. You will learn a lot. You will laugh a lot. You're going to make new friends, learn new stuff, take great pictures. And when you have all of this stuff, I wish you a great, safe journey. Come back with some amazing photos. I know you're going to, because you just learned exactly how.
What if you could hire an extra set of hands just to deal with editing your photos? And what if this assistant was thinking and editing exactly like you? With Imagine, this is not a distant dream. Introducing your new personalized AI Lightroom Classic editing assistant. It analyzes your unique editing style down to the very last detail and applies that style instantly and uniquely to every new photo from your Adobe Lightroom catalogs. Whether it's color correction, cropping, or straightening, Imagine's AI assistant knows what needs to be done based on your previous edits. The AI constantly learns your unique point of view and improves. With just a few clicks, Imagine edits your photos in your personal style faster than ever. It takes less than half a second per photo at all volumes. Now you can finally have the time to scale up your business and win back free time. In addition to creating your own personal AI profile, you can also use one of our pre-built talent AI profiles if you are uncertain about your unique style or just want to explore the signatory styles of leading photographers. Your new AI assistant is here to deliver. Achieve amazing results right from the first frame and maintain the highest level of precision in each and every photo. Starting at only a few cents per photo, you get fantastic value for your money and save hours of work. So say goodbye to hours of tedious manual editing and to presets that distort your photos and underdeliver. And say hello to the future.
I'm Dave Williams and I'm a travel photographer from the UK. I'm going to use all of my information that I've learned in my years doing this, and I'm going to teach you about how to plan properly for travel photography so that we maximize on the time we have and so that we know what we're going to do with our time when we get there. I've made some mistakes and I've learned most importantly that nothing beats good, proper planning. I'm going to teach you what gear we need to take, why we need to take it. We're going to identify gaps in the market and figure out what's on trend so that we know what we're going to shoot when we get there, how we're going to shoot it and what angle we're going to go from so that our photos stand out from the crowd. And I'm also going to teach you what makes a photo special and how we can achieve that. So if you want to learn all this and you want to learn some inside tips from me from my experience in planning for travel photography, join me in my brand new class on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
And we're back, and coming up first, all the way from North London, we've got Dave Williams Skyping in with us, and he really is the traveling man who's just dedicated himself to this subject like no one else I can think of. I mean, he lives and breathes this every day. So welcome to the show, Dave. Thanks so much for joining us. How have you been?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm just outside North London in the van, and I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing well. You know, we just skirted that hurricane, so sorry about we had to cancel the show last week because it was almost going to hit here. Luckily, it did go south. I don't want to even say luckily, really, because it was going to hit somewhere, and it was awful, but we are able to be back this week.
Yep. Good to be here.
Good. I'm glad. And I'm glad all my friends are doing well as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what have you been up to?
Oh, it's been pretty busy lately. So as I say, I'm in the van outside North London. I've just been over to my friend Pete's where we've been doing some video for a couple of projects. Just before that was the photography show. But then looking forward, obviously, we've got the Kelby One Travel Photography Conference. I'll be at Adobe Max. I've got 3 or 4 video projects to wrap up as soon as I possibly can. And then snowballing, if you excuse the expression, straight into winter to see where I end up in this thing before I break it.
Well, I mean, that's so exciting. I know most of our viewers probably know, like, Dave is in his van. He travels all around Europe, and he's pretty, like, I guess, self-sufficient and sustainable, and converted this thing to be able to just travel so he can take photos, right?
Exactly, yeah.
How long have you been on the road now?
15, 16 months, something like that. It's a extra long wheelbase Mercedes Sprinter with a high roof. As you can see, I can fit in it and stand up in it. I've got a nice swivel chair over there behind me. The laptop at the moment is on the bed, which is a double bed. I've got the kitchen, I've got the couch, everything I need is here. Most importantly, all the camera gear is here.
That's amazing. So amazing. So what have you learned on this journey, would you say, like, from, just your old lifestyle to this? What kind of things have you learned along the way, and are there any tips you can give us for travel photography?
Absolutely. So there's something that I'm going to be talking about that I actually, we have a class, Kelby One class, all about planning your travel photography and how important it is. And it's really hit home just how important it is to plan and be prepared for every eventuality. So obviously you need your plan A, but you need to plan for the worst happening. And sometimes it does. Like, there were a few times where I got stuck in the snow, or I couldn't move for about a week in Norway because of a polar storm. So always having a backup plan and always having options is important. And that relates to travel photography, because if you're going on a big adventure somewhere, obviously, like Rick Salmon said in his new course this week, travel photography begins in your own backyard.
Yep.
But if you're going somewhere and spending a load of money to go on a huge adventure, you need to know what you're going to do if everything doesn't quite go the way you planned it for your plan A. So you need to work on your plan B. Lots of research, lots of planning, lots of Googling, to be honest.
100%. That was actually going to be one of my questions for you, is how much time would you say you spend planning versus actually shooting?
It's way more planning than shooting, way more. And it's important that you do that, because let's say I'm going to shoot the Northern Lights, and there's a mountain, and I want to frame the mountain with the Northern Lights behind it, just as an example. If the weather doesn't work and the Northern Lights aren't out, can I shoot the mountain, or do I need to have another option nearby? If I can't even see the mountain because of the weather, what else is there that I can shoot? What's my perhaps plan C, my tertiary plan? It is incredibly important to do the planning, not just with your Googling and your hotel, but with the weather forecast and knowing about advisories for the local area, so that you are going to give yourself the best chances to get the shot that you plan for. But you're not going to be surprised if it goes wrong and you need to flip over to your other ideas.
I 100% agree with you, because I was thinking about that this morning, as like a filmmaker and us, it's very similar to photography and stuff, but, it's like you have to plan it all out, but then at the same time, you have to equally be willing to change that plan at any moment, because you don't know how life is going to turn out. And so you have to be ready to flow. But it's always best to have a plan in place, but then ready to just do whatever you need to do to make things happen.
I want to jump back to your planning. You said, you plan your research, you do all this Google stuff. What does your research look like? And is it different for the different locations? In other words, you're going to one city and you're looking for, a certain type of photography that you're planning on. And then you're going to a different place, you're planning a different kind of photography. So unpack a little bit some of that research process.
What it literally physically looks like can vary, because quite often it's up here. Sometimes it's on a shared note. Sometimes it's on a note on my phone only. It can look like many things. But I guess that relates to what your priority is. So when you're shooting and traveling, the priorities for the shooting and the traveling both have different orders. There are different priorities. That's what I'm trying to say for each one. And so your planning is twofold, because you're going to have a shot list of all the places you want to see, but then you're going to have your travel itinerary for how you're going to actually achieve that, how you're going to get there. And it's as deep as which rental car, when are you picking it up? Do you need to get a bus? What time does the bus go? Can you get there from your hotel? There's so many things to look at, but it all comes down to the priority. And so when I go somewhere, I'll have my priority shot, the one that I absolutely want to get. But then I'll have a whole list of other shots. So if it doesn't work out that I can't get the priority shot, or if I get the priority shot quicker than I anticipated and I'm able to go and get some more things. Another thing, though, in the business of photography comes down to who's paying for that shot and what are their priorities. So my priority may be different from the priority of the person whose money it is that I'm spending to get that shot. And that obviously has a huge effect on timing and sometimes the amount of luxury that I may have at the location. And it's a huge question, Larry. It's a huge question. Well, sure. This could take an hour.
Well, and at the same time, I mean, there are other things that I think about too. What about asking locals? So one of the things that has come up in Scott's review of a recent trip he went on, and he and I would do a sit down, and I would ask him questions about where he's just been. He said, I found this really cool place. Well, I didn't find it. There was a local resident there that I was able to get in touch with. So do you do any of those kinds of things? Do you do any of those? Maybe it's not even in advance. Maybe it's once you get there, can you ask others about things? Absolutely.
So, I have a trip coming up in Norway in February, and the past couple of days I've been doing a crazy amount of planning for it. And part of that planning involves there are 3 people that I know in this particular area. It's the Lofoten Islands in the north of Norway. There are 3 people that I know there that are local experts. One of them owns a hotel. One of them owns a photography guiding business.
Wow.
And the other one is an amateur photographer that just knows the area incredibly well. And because of the kind of trip it's going to be, I need their local knowledge to help me out. Not necessarily to guide me whilst I'm there. I'll get myself around, but I need the connections that they can offer.
Oh yeah.
To get the shots that I need. And obviously that comes with compensating them in one way or another because I'm using their services. But yeah, local knowledge is extremely important because if you look at PhotoHound or these other similar websites that show you photos and how to get them, it all comes from other people's experience. So you can look it up on Google and you can check photo pills and you can do all these things that we all know how to do, but nothing beats the experience of someone that's been there and knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Sure.
And this is one of the reasons I return to places so many times, is because the first time I go, it's kind of like scouting for the next time, which in turn is scouting for the third time. And then on and on and on we go, and the shots get better and better each time because of that learning experience of being there.
Okay, so you were talking about a learning experience. I have another question, and this may or may not apply to you. The answer might be no, but my question is, you've got a style. You're known for a particular type of photography. You know in your head before you even leave what you're going for when you go to a place. But do you have any other types of learning that you're in the process of? So you're a travel photographer, but maybe you're also thinking about portraiture in a certain way, or you're thinking about macro photography, or you're thinking about, is there anything, and you may say, no, I'm good exactly where I am. I know my lane. I'm staying in my lane. Is there something else you're in the process of learning right now?
I'm learning about lighting, not the sun, but learning about actual lighting. I'm just going to grab this because it's right here.
Okay.
ProPhoto A2. I'm learning how to use proper lights. I did it before when I shot weddings, but I'm out of practice, and so I'm learning how to do it. And not only with a mirrorless camera, but with my iPhone, because you can fire off a ProPhoto A2 with the ProPhoto camera app. But that is because personal projects are incredibly important to all photographers, because so I'm a travel photographer, and that encompasses many genres of photography. Travel photography is unique. I've said this so many times, I'm not going to say it again, but there's so many genres within it that we need to be a bit of a jack of all trades and know something about every genre of photography in order to achieve our aim as travel photographers, which is to make somebody want to go to the place in the photo.
True.
So personal projects for any photographer are going to give you transferable skills. Perhaps you're a landscape photographer. If you go and do a portrait session in a studio, you're going to pick up some skills that you can translate or apply to your landscape photography. Similarly, food to toy photography or macro photography, any genre, you're going to benefit from learning or doing a personal project with another genre of photography. It's incredibly important. And it keeps us on our toes. Check out Scott. So obviously, Scott's is he the world's most accomplished or biggest photography author? Something like that.
In fact, I think
he doesn't stop learning.
Yeah, I think he's actually the #1 best-selling photography book author on the planet of all time, including all these people that I remember in photography courses in college. He's surpassed them. So yeah, exactly. And
he, you and I know very well that he never stops learning. If I've got something to tell him, he's going to listen. If you've got something to tell him, he's going to listen. He will never stop learning, despite that accolade. And so we should take a leaf out of that little book and keep ourselves on our toes and keep learning with personal projects to develop ourselves as photographers. And also to make us stand above the crowd, because we're competing against a whole load of people.
Yeah.
And if they're learning, we need to be learning as well so that we stay above them.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking before the show about just pushing boundaries and doing things that technically that your camera, pushing those boundaries with your camera to get cool and unique shots and do things that were different. And I had brought up, like when you shoot the auroras and things, that's really like totally a different type of style in terms of, not having to do the conventional photography. You have to like push your camera to different limits to get certain shots and things like that. Speaking of learning, we're going to be learning from you very soon at the Travel Photography Conference. Is there any kind of like insight you can give us into your class, or tips from what you might be teaching us?
I mentioned that I'm looking to develop myself with light and with my iPhone. One of my classes is about something that I already do, which is shoot landscape and travel with my iPhone. There are so many powerful features in this little device, and the CEO of Sony said that these are going to overtake DSLRs within the next 3 to 5 years. And so I'm going to teach a whole load of stuff about what you can do as a travel photographer with your iPhone.
Super.
And I think there's going to be some secret stuff in there that people haven't seen before.
Awesome. I'm super excited about that. I mean, we're back in those days when we were talking about digital versus film, it feels like, or, you know, DSLR versus mirrorless. And now we're going from that into iPhone.
Yeah.
And someone actually has a question before I go to this next break. They said, Dave, if you're taking only one lens, which would it be?
Ooh. If I'm going to shoot the Northern Lights, it's the Nikon 14 to 24 f2.8. If I'm going on any other travel photography trip, it's the Tamron 28 to 300, which is a ridiculously all-round lens. 28 to 300. It doesn't have the wide open aperture, but because of that, it's quite light. So you can take it to a city, you can climb up a mountain with it, and you've got an incredible range there with the telephoto.
That's a good choice. Well, thank you so much, Dave. It's always lovely to talk to you, and I'm so looking forward to your classes at the conference. Wishing you the best, as always, on your travels, and can't wait to hear more about what you've been doing, and have safe travels.
Christina, Larry, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Oh, good talking with you, my friend.
All right, guys, coming up next, we have another amazing photographer, and her pictures have a very unique perspective, so stay tuned.
So there are some things that we decided to do early on to make our online training really resonate with photographers and make it an immersive experience. We're in Manhattan with a ballerina from the New York City Ballet. Or when we teach you travel photography, you're right there with the instructor in the streets of Paris or Venice, learning everything from the camera techniques to the photography techniques to the camera settings. We're flying a squadron of warbirds in formation off the coast, and you're right there in the chase plane, and you see it all unfold right in front of you. Whether we're in the studio or out in the field, you're right there every step of the way. With 24/7 access, you can watch it on your desktop or laptop, your tablet or your phone. We even have an Apple TV app. You can also take classes offline, so if you're traveling, you don't have internet access, you can still keep learning. We've put together learning tracks that start you off by suggesting specific classes. And when you're done with that, you're ready to start exploring more than 800 classes. If you think your best images are still inside you, let us help you break through that, take you to the next level. We'll see you in class.
Hi, this is Hilmar Smith. Join me in my newest class, The Ultimate Guide to Photographing Kids. I'm gonna give you all the tips you need so you can start planning everything for the pre-consultation with the grown-ups, and then how to manage the kids on set and how to keep them engaged. I will have 7 kids on set, 7 different personalities, 7 different ages. They all will have an individualized, customized photo shoot that they were gonna pick their costume and the whole theme of it. We even have a goat. Things are gonna go wrong, things are gonna go fine, and then you're gonna see how you can polish everything on post so everything looks perfect. I'm super excited to bring this class to you, so please join me at kelby1.com.
Hey guys, I'm Tavi, and I'm going to show you 2 really cool products that we at VFlat World sell. So the first one is our Duo boards, which are double-sided, hyper-realistic backdrops for food and product photographers. They come in 2 sizes. This is the larger side. We have all different types of textures and designs. These are some of the new ones that came out recently, and they also, there's a bag option available for them. And our other product, which is what we actually started the company with, it's called a V-flat. It's a foldable V-flat, and it's used for portrait and studio photographers to control light on their subjects, to either add light with the white side or use the black side to subtract light, or even block like an unwanted window light coming in.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
And we're back, and this time it's a pleasure to bring on someone that I admire so much. I just love her photography, and she's fabulous to work with. She's just a true gem, and it's Deborah Sandage. Everyone, please welcome her.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you. I know you're another one that is based in Florida. I'm glad that you are safe from the storm. That was a wild ride. You were traveling, luckily, right? So you were safe?
Yes, yes, I was traveling. I was in Colorado, so my flight got canceled. So it was there for a few extra days, but I could watch what was happening through the security cameras. So I could see, like, we don't have water in our yard, but there was water, and there was like wildlife. There was a coyote, there was deer, there were bears, and they were all trying to, I guess their space got interrupted. So.
Wow.
Interesting.
Were you out of town to do travel photography or just like visiting somewhere?
Yes, I had 3 in-person speaking events, so it was first in a long while, so it was exciting. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to catch up with people, and then of course I went to the Rockies and was able to shoot there.
Nice, that's awesome. One of my questions that I was going to have for you was about that balance of, you know, for me, like, I love to travel and just take it all in, but then sometimes when you're trying to document that beauty to share with the world, you catch yourself forgetting to enjoy it yourself. And so how do you make sure that you balance that?
That is a great question. And I think some of the things I think about is being prepared, so I don't waste any time. You know, I have a shot list. I have check all the weather apps. I do everything that's possible ahead of time. And basically, you know, I have all the ideas that I want to work with, but I also try to plan some downtime. Like, okay, I'll shoot all day, I'll hike all day, go up and down these trails, but at the end of the day, I'm going to like this restaurant and just sort of decompress and actually to make sure that you get a lot of sleep too. That's super important if you're getting up at dark 30.
That's really good advice. Yeah, making sure you take care of yourself. I was going to say, one of my things that I always do is just make sure I have food or a little snack with me too, because you never know where you're going to end up.
I want to ask Deb, are you ever surprised by something? So you go to a place, you've got your plan, you know exactly what you think you're going to get, and you find yourself in a location and you look over your shoulder and you go, wow, I never saw that before, and you got to capture that. Does that happen a lot, a little?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that goes to being situationally aware and just being aware of what's going on in your environment. I am one of those people, I look down, I look up, I use fish eyes, and I'm always trying to pay attention to what's going on. But yeah, sometimes things just happen that take your breath away, and you don't expect it. I mean, you know that it's going to be the blue hour and the weather should be nice, but maybe you get some spectacular clouds or something. And that's so exciting and rewarding when that happens.
Very cool. I also wanted to ask you about your favorite travel gear that's not a camera.
Oof. My favorite camera gear.
No, non-camera gear. So
non-camera gear.
So something that's not your camera itself, but something that you. So do you have a favorite bag? Do you have a camera strap that you love? Do you have any other things that are not the camera itself?
I'd have to say my longest, and it can't be a camera bag. Did you say?
Okay.
Camera bag, absolutely. There's so many little things. I love my camera bag. I've been using the f-stop cashmere, which was designed for women. Oh, this is many, many years. And I have the same bag. I just keep replacing like the internal compartment. But I think I might reward myself and get a new bag after all these years.
Sure.
I love that. But I really like the air tags that you can put in the travel bag in your backpack, smart. You know, and attach those. I mean, those have been so spectacular, just sort of as a reminder, like where everything is supposed to be. So I don't have to keep track on anything.
I think that's the takeaway for me today is the AirTag insight. And I saw Terry White was doing something on AirTags too. So just a very important insight. And I was going to ask you, and I'm actually going to ask our next guest also about theft and theft prevention and steps that you take to make sure you don't lose your gear.
Well, first of all, I am kind of I have to have my gear with me, and if I don't, it is in a safe. So I don't leave it in a car. I think that things could be opportunistic. If people see you leave your gear in the car, then, that's a little bit scary. So I carry with me. I don't mind. I just, if I need to put a few extra lenses in a safe or something, or just carry the main camera gear. But my Z9 is like attached to me.
Sure.
So, yeah, I am protected that way.
That's really smart. Just kind of being proactive about it, I think. One of the things that I know about Deb is, and the people just from having you in different conferences and watching you teach for us over the past year or so, is all the pictures that you do with infrared. And I think people are fascinated by it. And one of the things I was wondering was, how do you choose whether you're going to shoot infrared or not? And or do you just go and shoot both? Where's your mindset when you're going to compose photos?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, and I'm very passionate about infrared, so you'll find me usually with my color, with the regular camera, but I also carry an infrared camera. And the reason is an infrared converted camera because it's an alternate way to tell your story. And I think sometimes that the stories are more powerful in black and white, and in infrared it can be absolutely, just without the connotations of color. Blue has this peacefulness, and yellow, but you take away those colors and it's just down to light, shadow, pattern, texture. That's one of the things I love about it. So that elephant picture that you saw, I shot that in Tanzania, and it was just that dramatic landscape in the background that attracted me to the shot. And there was an elephant, and he's kind of slowed down when he got to near the vehicle, the safari vehicle, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. This is how, really close, and so I'm able to get that background and just have that solitary elephant. It was just such a beautiful moment. Those are the kind of things that just really embed in your memories. But I looked at the color pictures. I really didn't have, it was just hands down, it was infrared for that shot.
Yeah.
Do you see infrared in infrared? In other words, because it is very different than what we see in person. Does your mind start to think in those different black and white tones?
That is a really great question also. I think, and I feel like over time, I learned to be able to see what would be interpreted beautifully in infrared. Like, there's a lot of people who can look at a landscape and be able to say, this is going to be so fantastic. The conifers are not very reflective, but the maple trees are. So you can kind of visualize what will happen within a composition. So that's one of the exciting ways to shoot it. And again, some images are just so much stronger in infrared.
So you actually carry both with you every time you go. You have both camera bodies.
Most often. So if I went to Colorado and I didn't, I think it would have been beautiful to have, and I wish I would have had it, but I feel like I wanted that story of color. So, but normally here in Florida or most other places, I will. The last, you had a picture of down in Jupiter area, and just, if you have dramatic clouds and you have a very highly reflective foliage like the sea grapes, and then you have that dark ocean, those things are really work together to make a dramatic image.
So are there any other tips that maybe you've learned along the years, or hacks that you can share with us that might have taken you a really long time to learn, that you can kind of give our community a little bit of inside tips?
Oh my gosh, I would say have a plan. Have a plan B and have all your scouting done, so you know what you're going, because sometimes I'll be going on a trip as a guest pro and I haven't been to a particular area, so my job is to research it ahead of time and know there'll be someone there who can get you to the places, but so I want to be intimately familiar. So I'll check the weather apps, I'll check to see what type of shots have been taken, so I have a list in my mind, a shot list of things that I want to be able to photograph, but I also like to mix things up a little bit. So I'll have a composition in mind, then of course I'll have an alternate composition in mind.
Wow, so it's very similar to like some of the stuff that Dave was saying too. It's just about planning, and that's really so crucial.
And locals to help.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And, and I'd say really just to also don't be afraid to experiment. So, sometimes it's we get so into like a tried and true type of things like, okay, this will work here. I'm going to do this. But maybe you'll try a time lapse. Maybe you'll look at a super long exposure, a 5-minute exposure, a 6-minute exposure, and it changes the whole dynamics of a familiar location. So I would say, go into the spirit of like a child. Just think about, what can I do? What can I experiment with, and what can I have fun with?
That's awesome. I love that, because that's how I like to play with it a little, and do things and, make things that are just unique and pushing those boundaries of the equipment we have.
Absolutely. The thing about the technology, it's really married to that creativity. So it's there to work for you. We just have to work it and make it happen.
Yeah.
Deb, do you have a standard approach to a travel location? So, for example, do you go out and you're planning on being somewhere for, on average, maybe 3 days? And so that when you finish your first day's set of captures of your real target images, and then you go back and process those that evening, then you go back and you go, I didn't do this just right, or I want to change this, or I started to capture this and I have the wrong framing and I want to change it up. Do you find yourself doing that, or do you go places generally for one day and you get what you get and then you got to move on?
Well, goodness, that can also be very dependent upon the weather. So, sometimes I'll travel to an area and it's just, you get bombed by the weather. It just doesn't work out for you. You've done the best that you can do, and you've gone to plan B and all the alternate things. So, yes, I like to plan. Like if I go to San Francisco, I'll plan on like a couple of days, extra days. I don't like to be rushed. I really love to be in an area and so familiar with it. So I'll shoot sunrise. I'll go about an hour early and just, wait for the light and just see the conditions and what's happening. Maybe there's a boat, or maybe there's certain types of clouds. And I'm not hesitant to return because conditions change. So that's always a gift if you have that time.
Well, you're making me want to go travel now. Well, and then you're going to be another instructor that we have coming up in the next couple of weeks for the travel conference. Is there any kind of thing you can share with us from your class, or a tip, or give us some insight into what you'll be teaching?
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about the art of photography. And I think that's how I address photography in general. It's sort of an art form, I think, because I have a little bit of an art history background. So when I'm looking at a composition, I look at it technically. I look at it, what works, what doesn't work, and what could be improved. But I want to be able to render an artistic image. And sometimes it's really easy to get so enamored by the situation. Let's say you're standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the Eiffel Tower. There's lights and it's all so exciting. But then you have to be able to record it correctly, how you had it in mind. Let's say you wanted to do a time lapse. Let's say you wanted to do a slow motion video, or you wanted to do a different type of shot, or you wanted to get close to it, or get somebody in the picture. So you have to have all those things in mind and make sure you are recording what you had originally thought about. So instead of just being so excited about being in a particular area, which is easy to do.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that the art that you're talking about comes out in your photography. You definitely have the artist perspective and lens. I'm a fan. Photography.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Deb. It's always a pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate your time coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Yes, we will. All right, guys, coming up next, we have another photographer who's traveled all around the world, and he's a storyteller, an adventurer, and we're going to get his inside tips coming up next.
I'm Jefferson Graham. I'm a Los Angeles writer-photographer, a former USA Today tech columnist, and I've got a great new class for you on Kelby One.
I'll show you where all the best spots are to get your iconic LA shots so you won't be scrambling to find them when you get here. We'll cover epic travel and street photography, awesome sunsets, do some time lapses and panoramas, and I'll show you how to get amazing photos of the city that, of course, gave birth to the motion picture industry. Then we'll look up at the amazing palm trees of Beverly Hills 90210, catch the top spots for the LA skyline, movie locations, a killer freeway shot, and of course, we'll be ending at the beach for what I hope will be a memorable sunset.
Ready to get started? We're in LA, the birthplace of the movies, so you know what they say. Action!
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
All right, and we are back. And in this segment, we are going to bring on someone that's creative. He's been all over the world, and he's super resourceful. Please welcome to the show, Photo Walk TV, Jefferson Graham.
Hi.
Hi, how are you, Jefferson?
We have a picture?
I don't think we have a picture of you yet. Really quick, though, I know I had sent the control room some pictures of Scott and Jason out in Tuscany. And so I promised everyone I would show you guys some photos. So really quick, I'll go ahead and have the control room pull those up. And you can try and fix your camera real quick, Jefferson. Maybe make sure that the video is on.
Okay. But do you hear me, though?
Yeah, we can hear you. So up on the screen, we're seeing Jason and Scott out in Italy. This was sent to me this morning. Jason was in Venice, and you can see him. He's using the Platypod and getting his shots. He's having a wonderful time. He said it's epic, and he also said that Scott made an awesome Kelby One class out there while they were there. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what they've done. Look at that food. That looks so yummy.
Well, it's so much fun being friends with all these guys on Facebook. And that includes Jefferson and Jason and Scott. And seeing these images come through in my Facebook feed is just amazing. I find myself liking the picture, and then I go in and deep dive a little bit more and see some more images. And so the nice thing is I like a lot of what Kelby One brings then to the photographer, the aspiring photographer, with the behind the scenes and these courses.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see Scott's class that Jason was saying that they shot.
Yeah, and he said it was on point. That's how he texted me today. So I was like, ooh, I can't wait. So
this is like a month out teaser for a class that's coming up.
So, well, and then of course, Jefferson. Hi, we see you now.
Here we are.
How are you, friend?
I'm good. You can hear me too, right?
Yes, we can see and hear you. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're always a pleasure to have around, and you always do such a good job.
I'm not used to seeing Jefferson without the city of San Francisco or a pier or oceanfront behind him. This is unusual. I didn't know you ever went indoors.
It's close by.
I bet.
It's close by.
I bet.
So Jefferson, what are some of your top tips that you would give to people watching today on travel photography? You've traveled all around the world. and you've seen probably the most beautiful places. Please give us some insight into what you do when you're out and about.
The first thing is, and I think everyone else has said it, but plan, plan, and plan. First day, forget about it. Just run around and scout and look for the best locations. And then the other thing is to pick up the phone and call people before you go. So I'm going to Paris in a few weeks. I was just on the phone. I made a contact with a photographer in Paris, and we talked about locations. We talked about cliche locations, and we talked about hidden locations that most of us don't know about. I could not tell you about the hidden locations. What do I know? I'm just helicoptering into another place, but he can. And the locals always know more than I do, and make it a habit to get in touch with the locals, whether that's first stop, going to the tourist information office. I always do that. They they're there to sell hotel rooms and stupid tours that you may not want to go on, but they know their area better than you do. So just, do some research. Be a journalist. Be a reporter.
That's the first time that somebody's brought up tourist information office, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, we're all thinking my go-to is Google, right? And I call my friends, or I contact my friends who have been to a place or live there. I think, and I've been to San Francisco a few times, but if I go there, I'm calling Jeff. I'm gonna ask, where should I go and those kinds of things. And I remember some things that are vivid memories. But then even seeing some of his recent work from there, great stuff. And
you go there and you say best sunset, best sunrise, and they'll probably have an idea.
Yeah, very good.
Right,
so
that is good. I like the idea of hidden places too.
Yeah.
Like, where you don't think about. That was one of my questions for you too, Jefferson, is how does your journalistic experience influence what you're doing today?
It influences me in that I really like to get the locals' perspective. I think I have a travel series on YouTube called Photo Walks TV, and I think that what makes it a little different, instead of me saying, I'm having the best time here, and you could too, I interview local people and get their perspective and have their sound bites in the piece. So it's like, it's a travel article, it's a travel video. It brings a travel article to life through the eyes of mine, which are wide and looking for the best photos, and the people that live there.
Awesome. What about, why do you love travel photography? What invokes that passion in you?
What do we like to do when we travel? I mean, some people go to museums, other people take pictures. I take pictures. It's something I've been doing all my life. And what do you take back with you? You could bring back a loaf of bread from Paris, which is pretty great. You could take a great photo, and that photo will live on, and your video will live on, and the voices of the people that you interview will live on. So if you want to go back and relive the experience, one great way is through photographs and video as well.
Right.
They just live on.
Oh, I love that. I did see a question come in that I think would be good for you. It's from Rhonda. She asks, how do you approach a place that's been shot thousands of times? How do you make your shot unique?
Well, the great thing is that all of us see the world differently. And plug, we're doing a travel conference. It's coming up, and I'm doing something on the art of the photo walk. I can go there with 30 people, and every person will see it differently. I mean, it's unbelievable. I just did one in Chinatown in San Francisco. Every person saw it differently. Just something that's right in front of you. But we all look at the world differently, and your Eiffel Tower may be different from my Eiffel Tower, and we just try our best.
Yeah. Well, I heard that you have a new piece of gear that you like too. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I wish I had it here. Make believe this is it. But I mean, I do love this one too. But I will never do another travel video without the Insta360 camera. It is in my go-to bag, which is a very small bag, by the way. The Insta360, I was not into 360 when it came out. I thought the workflow was impossible. And the footage where you sit there and you look and see what everything looks like, nobody really cared. So the Insta360 has two lenses, and it shoots frontwards and it shoots backwards. And you choose in the workflow when you edit which side you're going to use, or you may use both. So I just did a piece on the cable cars, the great cable cars of San Francisco, which, by the way, have been photographed a million times, but maybe not the way I did it. I took an Insta360, I mounted it to the front of the cable car, and we went up and down the hills. Meanwhile, so it's going frontwards, and then there's the shot of me dangling from the cable car, taking pictures on my iPhone. So I got the best of both worlds, and again, we'll never go anywhere without that camera again.
Oh gosh, I think we might even have some footage to show too. I don't know if the control room can pull it up, but I think there was.
Oh,
yeah,
here it is. Yeah, I was so impressed, and I didn't think I was a 360 camera guy at all. And then I saw this, and I'm like, okay, I got to get one.
Well, you know what I love too is that, like he said, it's got the front and the back camera, and so you can choose which angle you want to cut to. So it kind of gives you coverage of things.
Yeah, and when you're out there photographing by yourself, it really helps, right?
Oh yeah, I love that.
That is a great. That's just a little video, but it was so strong. I really like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you.
Then there's some more questions coming in from some viewers, Jefferson. One of them is from Diane Arnold. Hi, Diane. Jefferson, have you considered doing cities in flyover land in the U.S., for example, Chicago, Minneapolis, or St. Paul, St. Louis, etc.?
They're all on the list. I have a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
I would kill to go to Chicago. In fact, I begged Christina to send me to Chicago.
Well,
remember?
Maybe we still can. I love Chicago too. I love to go there just to eat. Actually, they have really good food. And I did Route 66 for Kelby 1, but I only did part of it, and we want to continue and end in Chicago. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that later. We'll bring that back up. And then Sherry asks, she's going to Alaska in March, and she hopefully wants to shoot the aurora. Any tips for cold weather?
I have not done Alaska, but my friend Scott Bourne has done it many times, and he would love to hear from you. He would give you some great tips. Check him out on his website, scottbourne.com.
Well, and I know too, just from my crew traveling and doing stuff from cold weather, and Larry, you might have some tips on this too.
Yeah.
Definitely you're going to want to pack some hand warmers, definitely multiple of them, because you can use them obviously for your own hands and your feet, but also to warm your gear back up. You know, the cameras, the batteries sometimes tend to lose their power easily in cold weather. So your extra batteries you can store on your body, like stick them in your pocket, stick them close to your skin, and then that helps keep them warm and then still working. And then there's also ways. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. Is I put those hand warmers in a specific place in my travel bag.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also ways to balance your camera. You know, it'll get fogged when you go to change from outside to inside or inside to outside. And so there's ways also to make sure that you're not fogging your lens. So I've heard about people sticking their camera outside on the porch overnight. So then that way when you go to shoot, it's not coming from outside to in or inside to outside.
Yeah. And that works in cold weather and warm weather. We have that all the time in Florida. If I'm wearing glasses and I go from inside to outside, they fog over because it's cool inside and humid and warm outside. But if you use the hand warmers, then you'll be able to do that. That's the Florida weather. And then for the colder weather, it would be the opposite. Like you were saying, put your camera bag in a cold environment by the front door, that kind of thing.
Right.
But no place that thieves could take it. You don't know anything about that, Jefferson, do you?
No, I don't know.
What was the craziest thing that ever happened to you on a location shoot, Jefferson?
That's right. And who was the first person who called me? Christina. I was doing a shoot in San Francisco. I was talking into the camera. San Francisco is one of the greatest places to shoot. You'll love it here. And then somebody ran up and grabbed the camera and tripod and microphones, put them in their getaway car, and hauled butt away, all within maybe 2 seconds. These were serious pros looking for idiots like myself. And I blame myself. So moral number one, if you're shooting with a 70 to 200 lens, don't do a stand-up in a park near a road that people can drive on. Don't do that. Use a smaller lens or have somebody behind the camera. Though I frankly thought that if the person who was with me was my wife, they would have just thrown her to the ground. So, the lens said, steal me, and it's just one of those unlucky breaks.
Right. And I think, she even got footage of it and the cops couldn't do anything and just
they
not
couldn't
worth their
care
time.
less. They couldn't care less.
But so I think it's really important when we're traveling that we think about how do we just contain everything and make sure that it's safe, not just your equipment, but you too. Like you said, your wife could have got thrown to the ground or something. And so you want to keep yourself safe too, not just your gear.
Well, just remember that I was in a park. And there's a big, big park, but I was standing near a road where you could drive through the park. So logic says, go in the middle of the park, get away from the cars, right?
Right. Well, you're going to be teaching some classes coming up soon in the next couple of weeks at our travel photography conference. Can you give us any kind of insights or tips from your class that a little teaser, what we might expect?
We talked about the art of the photo walk, but I'm also doing how to do everything you want to do in travel photography on one of these, on your iPhone or Samsung Galaxy or whatever. You don't need to bring the big gear. You can do everything you want to do except for take pictures of elephants in infrared. Okay? Pretty much everything you want. You're not going to get ultra close-ups, but the most freeing thing in the world is to go to a travel location and leave the camera bag behind and just take one of these small cameras. And I will show you how to do it and the pros and cons and how to get the most out of your smartphone mobile camera.
Awesome. And you actually have the new iPhone, I've heard.
I've seen.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I know we've had some comments back and forth with when it first came out. So can you give us some insight into how you like it? What can you tell our viewers about it? Okay,
best iPhone ever made, but if you want to talk about for photography, it's to upgrade from the 13 is a stretch. It's not. You're just not going to see that much difference. Yeah, there's a 48 megapixel sensor and it's bigger. But you have to shoot in RAW, and most people are not going to shoot in RAW, not going to take the time to shoot in RAW, and then they're not going to see any difference whatsoever unless they blow it up to all the way. If you go all the way in, you will see a slight difference, but most people will never see the difference. That is, there's also this crazy little thing. Okay, there's a 2x zoom on there now. Do you know, right? And most phones have what's called a 0.5 and a 1x and a 3x if you've got the top of the line iPhones. So they have a 2x, which is a 50 millimeter lens. This is my favorite part about it. It's the 50 millimeter lens. It's wonderful. Nice. But it's like magic. It's a little trickery because all it is a 12 megapixel cut down from the 48 megapixel. So it's a crop, but it's not a digital zoom. It's a crop, but it looks really good. And there are times when you're shooting it, basically, you have 24 or 77 millimeter, one of the two. And it's just nice to have something in between. So that's worth it for me. Aside from that, always on display is really nice. And the screen looks really good.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I am so looking forward to your mobile class as well. I think it's exciting because that's the phone always in our pocket, right? Or the camera always in our pocket is the phone that's with us. And so to be able to use it, to it's maximum capacity and just learn all the tips and tricks to get the best photo from it.
Yeah, so many of us are used to, I've just got a camera phone. I can't shoot that. And you're posting images every day, and I'm seeing Yeah, the phone, and I've been watching that since the 13 Pro came out. You're exactly right. And I've seen Scott do that and others where you're capturing beautiful images with an iPhone camera.
Did you see the rainbow from last week?
The one on the beach over the what do they call those beach houses?
Piers?
No. What? Oh, I didn't see the one over the pier.
There's the rainbow over the pier.
Yeah, I did not see that
cool.
one. I saw the rainbow over the
lifeguard tower.
Lifeguard tower. That's what it is. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Very nice.
So that's all shot with the iPhone.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
wait. Go back to that picture. You are freaking tall, dude. That is amazing.
I was standing on top of a bench.
Okay. But still, that's just very high. That's very high up. That's a great perspective.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to join us today, Jefferson. It's always a pleasure to see you, and looking forward to getting to see your classes coming up in a couple of weeks. And
maybe even Chicago.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about Chicago. P.S.
You guys got to take me when you go to St. Louis. I was born there. I grew up till I was like 9 years old in St. Louis, so I remember some things.
Okay, Larry, I'll drive to Florida, and we'll drive from Florida to St. Louis to Chicago together. What do you think?
I think that would be, that's like a sitcom waiting to happen.
That actually sounds fun.
I think it'd be great.
And we have some prizes to give away, too. So, Larry, I was going to turn it over to you to give away the prizes for today.
Nice. All right. Okay.
They're up there. You see them?
Yeah, I do. I see the prizes on the monitor, and the prize winners are, first of all, the Platypod Twin Pack. So, there we go. The Platypod Twin Pack is going to JC Sewell. Congratulations, JC. You get both of these platypods. The travel photography book is going to Jennifer Kraft. Jennifer, congratulations. You will be reading about travel photography, and you should come to the conference too. And then also, how do I do that in Lightroom? The updated version is going to Sharon Goldsboro. Congratulations, Sharon. And we have 3 more giveaways. The first one is On One Effects 2022. That's going to Moses Rodriguez. Congratulations. And we also have a V-flat, and this is only in the U.S. that we're shipping it, but it's going to Mike B. Congratulations, Mike, on the V-flat. And then one duo board, an extra large duo board in U.S. shipping is going to Kevin Leduff. So, Kevin, congratulations. I want to get one of those duo boards.
Well, maybe you should put a comment in the chat next week and I can pick you.
Yeah, that's not a setup. I'm not allowed. See, that's the only thing about being at all these Kelby One events. I'm not allowed to win anything.
I know. Sometimes it's like you get these prizes and you're like, oh, I wish I could win.
But it's always great to be around here and great to be on set with you, Christina.
It's always a pleasure, Larry. We get to work together behind the scenes so much.
Yeah.
So it's funny that we're hosting together today and getting to do this on air. You know, you guys don't see us always working together and doing things when he's hosting the conferences and I'm running around producing the show, and so this is a different perspective to be able to chill and host something and bring some instructors in a more casual way.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Thank you for coming all this way. Well, everyone, that's today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it, got some info out of it. One more thing before we go, I do want to mention that we are going to change up a little bit the conference this year. Instead of just doing a live Q&A at the end of our travel conference, we're actually going to have a photo contest. So for those of you watching and those of you that are going to be coming to our conference, just start keeping in mind that we are going to start asking for submissions for your travel photography. And what we'll do is on air, we're going to pick the top 20 and go through them. And then at the end of the show, we're going to be announcing our winner of who has the best travel photograph. So be sure you're starting to think of what photos you might want to submit for that. And I hope that we can see some really good photography that our audience has done and give someone an awesome prize. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we'll definitely give a bundle of things away.
Cool.
Yep. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Next week we will have Scott and Eric back, and so you'll tune in for them. I'll be out with Juan. We're going to California, and we're going to be filming a class with Karen Hutton.